the room that wasn't there.
Have you ever noticed a door that wasn't there yesterday? A hallway that feels too long? A staircase that turns when it shouldn't? You tell yourself it's just a trick of the mind, that old buildings shift and settle. But what if the building is shifting around you? My name's Dev. A year ago, I moved into an old colonial house in the hills of Mussoorie. Cheap rent, fully furnished, and that view of the valley? Unreal. It was the kind of place writers dream about, and as an aspiring novelist, I thought I'd found my sanctuary. The owner, a soft-spoken man in his 60s, told me the house had been unoccupied for years. His parents died there. His siblings refused to return. I should have asked why. But the rent was a steal. It started with small things. Lights flickering, footsteps above me. Even though there wasn't a second floor. The sound of water dripping. When no taps were open. I chalked it up to old pipes, creaky wood, my overactive imagination. Until the third week, when I discovered the door. It was in the upstairs hallway. Right at the end, behind a dusty mirror I swear wasn't there the day before. The mirror was cracked, just slightly. And behind it, a handle. Brass. Ornate. Cold. I hesitated, naturally. There was no room beyond that wall on the blueprint. But I opened it anyway. Inside was a room I can only describe as wrong. The air was heavier. Thicker. Like I'd stepped into another century. The furniture was antique, and not in a charming, vintage way. It was covered in symbols carved deep into the wood. Circles, lines, triangles intersecting. And eyes. So many eyes. The wallpaper was peeling, blood red underneath. And in the center of the room, sat a small wooden cradle. Rocking itself. Empty. I backed out, slamming the door. And for a moment, the house shook. Not violently. But like it was waking up. The lights went out. My phone refused to work. The mirror cracked fully down the middle. The next morning, the door was gone. Just smooth wall and faded paint. I thought maybe I'd hallucinated. Maybe it was a dream brought on by isolation, insomnia, bad tea, who knows? Until I found the photo. In a dusty corner of the library, behind a false back in one of the shelves, I found the photo album. Old. Moldy. Bound in leather. The first page was a black and white photo of the house, my house, taken decades ago. And there, in the top window, was the room. The same cradle. The same wallpaper. And a woman. Holding something in her arms. Only, the thing in her arms wasn't a baby. It was misshapen. Faceless. And its hand was pressed against the window pane. I turned the page. More photos. Each one showing a different tenant, always alone. Always staring into the camera, dead-eyed. And then, on the final page, I saw me. A photo of me. In the same room I stood in just days ago. Same cradle. Same rocking motion. Only this time, there was something in it. Looking directly at the lens. At me. I tried to leave that night. I packed, booked a cab, and waited. But no cab came. The signal was gone. GPS glitched. I even tried walking. But every road led back to the house. Every single. The house had folded reality. Like a spider pulling threads of web inward. I was the fly. And I was already caught. The dreams began then. Dreams of a woman humming lullabies in a language I couldn't understand. Of nails tapping glass. Of something crawling out of the cradle, closer each time. And always, just before waking, the feeling of small hands wrapping around my throat. I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating. I barely moved from my bed. And then one day, I heard it. The cradle. Rocking. On its own. Again. The door had returned. Only this time, it was open. And I swear on whatever's left of my sanity, I heard a voice. Not like a ghostly whisper. No. It was a child. A child saying, over and over, "You're the last one. We need you to finish this story." I haven't left the house since. I've accepted my role. There are no more photos left to take. No more guests to lure. Only one thing left to do. Write. I write stories now. Stories of fear. Of doors that vanish. Cradles that rock. Houses that feed. They go out. Somehow. Through radio waves, dreams, channels like this one. And when someone listens closely enough, when they hear just the right story, the house finds them. So if you're hearing this, if your lights flickered tonight, if your hallway felt longer than usual, check your mirrors. And whatever you do, don't open the door. Thank you for listening. You've just heard another tale from the dark, only on Spread Stories, where nightmares never sleep.